This is Optimal Finance Daily, episode 536, How I Plan to Retire at 30, Part 1, by F.I. Fighter with BudgetsAreSexy.com. And I'm Dan, your host. I'm here each weekday bringing you some of the best personal finance blogs on the planet, and we like to hear from you about what you'd like to hear from us. So if you have any topic requests, swing by oldpodcast.com and share those with us. Before we get into it, I also want to ask if you have subscribed to our other 4 podcasts. One of them, Optimal Living Daily, covers minimalism, personal development, and productivity, sometimes even content from Budgets Are Sexy too. So if you like today's post, you'll definitely like that show as well. Just search for Optimal Living Daily wherever you're hearing this show to find it, along with our other shows. But for now, let's get right to today's post as we optimize your life. How I Plan to Retire at 30, Part 1, by F.I. Fighter with BudgetsAreSexy.com. Later on this year, I turned 30. That's right, the dreaded 30. But it's not what you think. For one, I'm not freaking out and wondering where my best years went. Secondly, I have no intentions of trying to fight back time or YOLOing it up for one final hurrah. Lastly, I've never been more optimistic about life and absolutely can't wait to turn 30. The truth of the matter is, I've been trying to engineer my own Shawshank jailbreak for a while now, and next year, 2015, a year in which I'll still be 30, is when I anticipate escaping prison for good. Precursor to early FI. The thought of early financial independence first crossed my mind around Thanksgiving of 2011. I was living in Newport Beach at the time and was just blown away with how unfrugal some of the people living there were. In particular, I knew a coworker slightly older than me that would only drive luxury German automobiles. This guy even had a backup VW minivan in addition to a pair of BMWs. On the surface, this guy looked like he had it made. A good-paying job, married with a kid, owned his own residence, and had all the flashy toys everyone dreams about when they are broke and in college. Unfortunately, everything comes with a price. As it pertained to my coworker, it was easy for me to look past all the bling and focus in on a much crueler reality, the ravages of hard work. To support his lavish lifestyle, this guy had to grind it out at work every day. He regularly worked 10-hour days, sometimes more. Oftentimes, he would even come in on the weekends. Because of all that, he suffered the consequences. He wasn't yet 30 at the time and had more gray hair than most 40-year-olds. His eyes were always bloodshot, and he just didn't seem all that happy. Even though I hadn't yet started the journey to early FI when I first met him, I think subconsciously data points such as this were what ultimately drove me towards that direction. 2012. Inception. After reading Jacob Fisker's Early Retirement Extreme book, I was hooked and fully on board with the whole early retirement concept. Editor's note, this is the same Jacob from the blog Early Retirement Extreme, which has a cult following similar to Mr. Money Mustache. In 2012, I started the year off with $0 in passive income. Up to that point, all I had invested in were retirement accounts, 401k and Roth IRA. Since I now knew that I wanted to escape the dreaded 9-to-5, I decided to dedicate all my efforts toward ramping up my passive income production. By year's end, I was able to purchase my first rental property, and I built up a dividend portfolio worth slightly more than $60,000. It wasn't easy, and I had to make my fair share of sacrifices along the way to make that possible. Thanks to a few pay raises and large signing bonuses from jumping around different companies, my earned income did receive a nice shot in the arm to help make things easier. Also, I would say that I was mostly frugal during that first year. I indulge a bit more these days, saving between 60 and 70% of my earned income. It was tough, but I have no regrets since it helped me build up that initial foundation. When it came to expenses, I simply cut back on the things I didn't absolutely need. No more gym membership. I played basketball after work with coworkers instead. I ate lunch at the company cafeteria where the food was subsidized. I shopped at Costco and bought everything in bulk. I resisted the flash of Orange County and kept on driving my beater car that had close to 100,000 miles on it. To save on rent, I lived with 3 other roommates. Miraculously, I was able to work out a deal with a landlord to live in a condo 5 minutes from Newport Beach, all for just $700 a month. When you cut out the excess, the stash starts to grow and snowball. It's a wonderful feeling, and seeing the incremental progress being made only motivated me further. At the conclusion of 2012, I was receiving close to $100 a month in dividends, and the rental was bringing in an additional $400 a month. 2013, the grind. I purchased 3 more rental properties in 2013 and went full steam ahead with real estate investing. In the process, I liquidated my entire dividend portfolio to have enough funds to close on my second rental property. Over time, I studied up on out-of-state investing and eventually expanded outside of my local market. The cash flow numbers were just better elsewhere, so I said, why not? My net cash flow at year's end was about $1,500 a month. Ironically, that was the number I was originally shooting for when I made my declaration to start the journey to early FI back in 2012. When I first began, my initial target retirement age was 37 and a half. Every year, I've been trying to reel that number in more and more. Since I'm now 29 and the end game has been revised to 30, there's not much more I can do to reel in the end date. 2014, the conservator, present day. For this year, my plans are to acquire 2 additional properties to try to bring up the net cash flow to $3,000 a month by the end of the year. Also, my plans are to rebuild cash reserves so that I have a decent-sized safety net in place prior to checking out of the cube for good. I'll also have those retirement accounts available as backup, but I don't anticipate ever needing them. If all goes to plan, I'll be able to donate all retirement funds to charity many, many years down the road. If I can get to $3,000 a month in net cash flow by the start of 2015, I'll feel pretty confident that I can pull off early retirement at 30 in 2015. Breaking it all down. Hear that in tomorrow's episode. You just listened to part 1 of the post titled, How I Plan to Retire at 30 by FI Fighter with BudgetsAreSexy.com. And FI Fighter has his own blog, which you can probably guess the name of. It's fifighter.com, and you can check there to see what he's been up to more recently. Before I go today, I want to remind you that if you haven't done so already, to please check out our other podcasts, especially if you like today's content. Budgets Are Sexy is also narrated over on Optimal Living Daily and Optimal Business Daily, so you can check those out as well. To find all of our shows, all you have to do is search for Optimal Living Daily wherever you're hearing this, and be sure to subscribe. And that's a wrap for another Monday show. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll be back with you tomorrow, where we'll finish up this post and where your optimal life awaits.
Hello, Life Optimizer. This is Justin Malik, creator and producer of this podcast, but also Optimal Living Daily, the show where I read to you from even more blogs covering finance, productivity, minimalism, personal development, and more from incredible bloggers like Derek Sivers, Zen Habits, Mark and Angel, The Minimalists, and all the ones you hear on this show too. So if you enjoyed today's episode and like taking amazing blogs on the go, come on over to Optimal Living Daily and subscribe to that one too. And together, we'll start optimizing your life.
You've been listening to Optimal Finance Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode and head to oldpodcast.com. That's OLDpodcast.com for a free gift as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.